What's up, everybody? I'm Gio with Carvalho Creations, and happy Halloween. On this week's episode, I'm going to be showing you how I created this wicked witch using monster mud. Now, I've been able to bring you quite a few of the videos where I've done monster mud in the past, but this is going to be the first one where I actually get to walk you through the process. So we're going to be going over the actual recipe on what I mixed to create the right consistency for my monster mud, and also how I apply it to the armature itself. So it's going to be a pretty loaded video. It's quite lengthy, so stick around because we're about to go wild. Today's episode, I wanted to show you guys how we're doing a monster mud figure. And I've shown these before in the past, but I've never been able to talk to you guys about them and walk you through the process. So today I thought it'd be a good idea to not only do the monster mud creation and talk to you about it, but also to do the recipe for it so you guys can see exactly how much I use and how I apply it. So right now I'm going to grab the camera. I'm going to show you some detailed work on the armature here, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, so for the armature, all it is 2x4s. These are cut at 60 inches in length, if you guys want to go ahead and copy this exact style. And then the support pieces in the middle are 8 inches in length. I cut them, I fuse them together. I grabbed myself some 1/2-inch PVC pipe, and then I used a heat gun to sit here and bend the elbows, and then I used a spray bottle to cool it down rapidly. And it gives you a really solid structure to work with. And when you're using monster mud, it's very imperative that your armature is strong enough, because once you saturate the material, it takes a lot of weight and it'll very easily bend on you. And I've had quite a few of these bend on me in the past, so this seemed to be working out pretty well. For the hands, it's just wire. I'm using really thick wire, and then I'm wrapping that and gluing that to the PVC, and then wrapping that with this tin foil so I can go over it with the monster mud to make the hands. This is going to be a stagnant post prop, so no moving here. And then what I went ahead and did is took some chicken wire here, and I formed out the body a little bit. Let's see if I can back up so you can see. It's a witch, so I'm giving her a little bit of a bodice and a little bit of shoulders, and maybe a small hint of a hunchback. So really super easy. If you guys want to try this, if you want me to do an extra video where I show you the armature work, I can do that as well. The foam head here, I'm using foam dry clay. Not showing you the sculpt in this one, but here's a little detailed look at it. Okay, so that's the armature, the base. Just a piece of OSB, and then I put some 2x4s braced up against the structure to hold it in place. So pretty easy. You can always weigh this down, or I had in my comments a couple of weeks ago someone talking about putting the wood into a 5-gallon bucket, filling it halfway with dirt, and then filling the top with expanding foam, just to give a little bit of weight so you don't have to weigh it down. But this one works for me, so that's the armature there. And we'll go on to the next step. So now that I showed you the armature, what I end up doing every time I do one of these props is I like to lay out my material ahead of time so I know where everything's gonna go. Because once you start getting started with this, it gets really messy really quick. And if you're trying to scramble and find something, it just doesn't work out. So I'm going to go ahead and use this sheet here for the bottom part of the dress. And then I have another piece of material with some buttons in the front. So I will cut and drape this over as well, so you can see that. And then I'm going to add a third piece of material over the shoulders and a hunchback just to tie it all together. And I'll tuck these pieces in. And the thing about monster mud that's so great is once you drape this and it's kind of hanging in place, it'll stay, you know, be beautiful at the end. So this is kind of the idea we're going for. And then one last thing I created was this witch's hat, and I just used cardboard and some poster board foam and some wire just to create a little hook on the top. Hopefully you guys can see that. And that'll sit right on top here. This will also be covered in monster mud, but I'll do that separately because I want to be able to store this. It is way too high to store in my garage. So I'm going to go ahead and do this separately, and then we'll add that to the end. When I originally started doing monster mud, I followed the ratio 5:1. So it's 5 parts of joint compound to 1 part of latex paint. In my experience, it doesn't matter if it's interior, exterior paint. I use all-purpose joint compound. This is a 3.5 gallon box of it to 1 gallon of latex paint. Now, if you're doing smaller projects and you don't need that much, then yeah, definitely use the 5-to-1 ratio. That works out fine. But if you're doing larger projects like this, you're going to need a good amount of this stuff. So I would definitely recommend one 3.5 gallon box joint compound to 1 gallon latex paint. And also too, depending on what you're making, I tend to try to have them tint the paint a darker color because this is like an off-white. So if I'm going for a concrete look and I want to do some graveyard statues like I did in the past, I'll get myself a gallon of black paint mixed with the joint compound. That way you don't have an extra step to do where you have to do a base coat of a certain color. So just keep that in mind. But all I do is I'll take some of the latex paint first, pour it in the bottom of the bucket, maybe half. And then I'll grab my joint compound. This shit is heavy. Ugh. And then pour that in. Just let it drop in. Blas, blas. Take that out. And if you have an electric mixer, awesome for you. I have a paddle that you can attach to a drill. I just don't happen to have it here, so I'm gonna have to do this by hand. But typically it's a lot quicker. You can add the rest of your paint or just a little at a time over the top so you don't make a mess. Well, I should say make less of a mess because this whole entire project is just one big mess, trust me. But this, I'll grab a stick, just mix it up. And once it's all put together, I'll show you the end result. All right, make sure you have disposable latex gloves. You're gonna need them. This stuff is, like I said, super messy. It's gonna stain anything you have. So make sure you got old clothes on, your latex gloves, a drop cloth of some kind really does help. And the way I like to start with these is from the bottom up because I want to create layers and this will hide some of the imperfections when I start from lower. Also, you're going to need a staple gun just to staple it to your armature. And all you do is you take your material, you want to dip it in, and it has to be fully submerged in order to really last. So make sure you get this completely saturated in order to really guarantee this is going to last as long as it should for years and years to come. You want to make sure this is completely saturated. So for these larger pieces, you're going to have to end up taking them out section by section and then spreading along the material, and you can let it drape over the side as long as you got that drop cloth to be okay, because it's going to be pretty impossible to get it all in one go. So I'll just blend it in as I go. I don't know if I've already said this, but if you guys want to see a video where I make the armature itself, I can definitely do that as well. Just let me know down in the comment section below. This is definitely a lengthy process, and this stuff can get real heavy really quick. Once you feel that you got your material pretty much saturated as well, you want to wring out as much as you can just to eliminate some of that weight. But this is definitely the hardest part of the entire process. Once you get this done and you get to the finishing and painting of it, it's actually a lot of fun. But it's just getting there. So now I'm gonna get this in place. Okay, also too, when I'm doing this, I try to think about what's gonna look most interesting. And I wanna layer the clothing to give as many creases and wrinkles as possible. Tends to look a lot nicer when you take the time and make everything appear as realistic as possible. I'm just adding a little more monster mud to the base here. Okay, so now with this next section, I cut one side open so I can get it over easy enough, I think. You're going to see the color difference in a second here when I put on this new mixture, what I was talking about with the dark color. Now, if I had started this from scratch and I didn't have any monster mud, I would definitely mix it this color from jump, so I don't have to paint this lady, but that's all right. No biggie. Okay. Now I can go right over her shoulders and the hunchback in the back. This stuff, like I said, is super, super heavy. So that's why I said this armature has to be very strong in order to support it. When it dries, it's not as bad, but when you're working with it, very heavy. And I'm gonna drape this over the wrists, just like that. Cover up this midsection. And these will double as sleeves. So I want to make sure I cover as much as I can. And you can also kind of crease this together because it's so tacky. It'll stick right to itself. Try to keep as much of that form that you made as possible. And I also might want to pinch this in the center. Just a little bit. There we go. So for the hands, what I'm going to be doing is taking small strips of material like this. I'll be dipping them in Monster Mud and then wrapping them around the fingers, and that'll create the rock hard hands as well. So this is just the underlayment. This gets dipped in Monster Mud, wrapped around, then you can make your witch fingers that way. So there you go, all dipped in Monster Mud. Also too, just one thing to think about when you're creating your pieces. I don't know if you can see this or if it's gonna focus any, but this here has more of like it's a fleece material. So if you're doing, like, say for the Krampus video, I use this material as the trim around his headdress and his coat, and it gives a lot of cool texture to it. So you might want to think about that when you're doing your projects as well, what kind of material you're using. But again, this is just going to get wrapped around the fingers just to cover the fingers up. And the hands. And this is still wet, so I can peel this back to make sure I get a good coverage of it. And then I can put this little sleeve back over to cover that. All right, I'm gonna do the rest of the fingers, and then we'll go on to the next step. Now we finished the Monster Mud portion of it. Just wanted to give you like a closer look of what it looks like. I did Monster Mud, same thing with the hair, just kind of wound it up on itself. A little bit of hair in there, and then you can see the hands that are all wrapped now. Pretty cool texture. And my whole thing too when I'm doing this is I'm trying to give you as much detail and layering as possible. So I used a different material over the top of what I had here. It was like a lace material, and I draped it over just to give it a little bit more. But as you can see, she looks pretty damn awesome. We're going to let that dry overnight. It takes about 24 hours to dry in warm temperatures. Might take a couple days if you're in a cooler area, but we'll wait overnight. Should be fine here, and then we'll get to the painting. So now that we got her all dried up, I added some fingertips to this lady. I'll show them to you guys up close in a second here, but if you guys want to see the video where I do hands, you can watch my do-it-yourself easy hands prop, and I go over in detail how to do the hands and fingers. So, but I went ahead and it's all dry now. It's the next day, so now I'm going to go ahead and take a black coat of paint, get everything black, and then we'll go and do the detail paint after that. So you can hand paint this. It's a pain. Trust, I've done it a few times. I happen to have a compressor with a spray gun, but you can hand paint this. It's just going to take you a lot longer. And like I was telling you earlier, that's why when you mix your Monster Mud together, you want to get a base coat that you're going to be happy with, so you don't have to sit there and paint this by hand. Because if you do have to paint it by hand, it's going to take you hours. I promise you that. So if you have a gun, you're lucky. You can do it that way. But if not, try to mix your color in and tint your Monster Mud, whatever color you're going to use, so you can avoid this step completely. Okay, as I let this project dry, I just wanted to show you some of the hands. What I did with the fingers here, probably be clearer on this side. There you go. You can see some of the detail on the fingernails. It was really easy. Took me maybe 20 minutes to do just the fingertips. So really simple. And then you can see how cool that black color looks already and the way the hair and everything works out. This is gonna be an amazing piece. Every time I do these Monster Mud projects, I find new ways to make them look a little cooler, a little more sturdy. And I love doing this. So hopefully you guys are enjoying these projects I'm bringing to you. We'll probably do more Monster Mud projects very soon. I have quite a few orders that I have to fill now, or I have customers asking me to make some more. So I'll take you along for the ride. But this is what it looks like with just a coat of black. And let me stand back so you can see the whole thing and take it in. Wicked. Look at that. Wicked. Okay, everyone. So for this step, we're going to be doing some of the detailed painting. Now, I got everything base coated in black, and what I'm going to do now is start with a kind of a greenish color. I'm going for traditional witch here, so I'm mixing up a nice green, and then I'm going to do a dry brush. Since the dark black is already there, I just have to highlight over the top and leave some of that black underneath, so you can see all the creases and crinkles in the face there. So I'm just doing, it's a relatively heavy dry brush, so there's a good amount of paint on here. But I do want to leave all the black that I did originally. And it's okay if it gets into some of it, I can go back over it and fix anything I may overpaint. I'm going to try not to paint the actual eyeballs. The idea for those is I want to leave them black. And the reason being is because when I think of a witch, I think of someone that sold their soul, all about dark magic and power, and black eyes just really tell that story. So I'm gonna leave those black, but just from that little bit of dry brushing already, you can tell how much it does in popping out all that detail. And that's just one color. And as you layer with more colors and in different areas and highlighting certain things, it's just gonna bring it out even more. So like I said, it's all dry brush, so you can see some of the black in there. I'm gonna let this dry completely, which it's almost dry. And we'll go back in, we'll work on some of these warts here, maybe a little bit of red and yellows around the mouth and the eyes, just to give it a little more life. And now I'm gonna go in and just give a little bit of depth to this. This is more of a wash, so I'm gonna put a lot more water in what I'm doing. Then I wanna kind of just brush it in and then take a damp cloth and just dab around it just to leave some of the color behind. Right, and just by dabbing that material in there, the clean cloth, it just gives it a little darker of an impression and sells the character a little bit more. I want dark sunken eyes, old hag, old witch. I'm also thinking about where the light is falling on the character as well. So any of these sunken pockets here, I want to go ahead and make sure I get those. And even if there's not too much of a shadowed area, I can create one just by doing this. Again, you don't want any hard lines, so make sure you're going back over and blending everything out as well. Some of these real deep creases, I want to make sure to get those. I want the feeling that she's been in this nasty little hut in the woods forever. I got the camera a little closer for you guys so you can see the detail I'm working with now. And you can see where that brown really kind of sunken in the eyes a little bit, and also browned out the wrinkles in the mouth. So now I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of yellow, regular yellow craft acrylic paint. We're going to do a dry brushing, so get as much of it off as I can. And then lightly, I'm just going to brush across the highlighted areas of where I think she would catch the most light. So over the brow ridge, maybe the nose a little bit. And any place that I feel is a little too heavy with it, I can go back and take it down a little bit with more green and brown. Also, I can highlight these warts and maybe lightly brush over the wrinkles to bring them out even further. Okay. All right, and now I'll go back over with a little more of the regular green color, just to tone that down a little bit so it's not so much of a difference, drastic difference. Yeah, just a little bit of that green, tone down some of that yellow, make it look more natural but still highlighted. Very easy way to paint your projects, and it does a huge amount of work for you without you actually having to do much at all. I've been painting for maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes, and that's that I'm filming, so it's a lot easier than you might think. I love these little projects like this. I hope you guys are enjoying these. If you want to see me make something like creative like this, a monster mud piece, you want to see a certain character come to life, I would love to do that for you. So just let me know down in the comment section below. Let's talk. Let's have some good conversation. All right. All right, just to finish off this face here, I'm just going to add a little bit of this red color around the warts here at the base of the warts, just to pop them a little bit more, make them look kind of like swollen and infected. And I'll add just a little bit of water to them as well. And we'll just go around all these little warts here. Hopefully you guys can see this on the camera. Okay, and just to add another little layer of effect to this, I'm going to add this spray polyurethane. It's a high gloss, so I'm going to spray it in the eyes and around the mouth just to give that wet look that'll stay. Maybe around the nose a little bit as well, just so she looks a little extra gross. All right, everyone, if you guys like today's video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Oh, hey everyone, thanks for sticking around to the end of our video. I absolutely love making props and projects just like this. This is by far one of my favorite pieces that I've been able to bring to you guys. So I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I did making it. If you'd like to see me create a creature or a character that you absolutely enjoy or love, either from a movie or something that you thought up, please let me know down in the comment section below. I'd love to bring that to life for you guys and put my own little twist on it. So please let me know down in the comment section below. If you have not already, please subscribe to this channel, because it's only getting better, it's only growing, and we're making better and better and awesome creations just like this. So until next time, keep building things, stay creative, and don't forget to go wild with it. I'm Gio from Carvalho Creations, and I'll see you next time. Yeah! Yeah! Sweating.